Shalom. Welcome to our directed Hebrew immersion for the Chetuvim, the writings. As usually, we are working through the book of Tehillim, Psalms. Working. I'm not sure why I said it like that. Working through the book of Tehillim. And lately, we have been on Psalm 27. So as you can see, here are our notes from last time. We will continue today working through, starting with verse Yod Beit, that's 12. And let's see how far we get. Maybe just let's say a real quick opening prayer. Avinu Malkeinu ken hi ratzon, ki kol asher anachnu osim bayom hazeh yihyeh tov ba'einecha. Ken hi ratzon ki lekachnu yihyeh tov ba'einecha. V'chol asher anachnu osim. L'chol hadevreim ha'ele anachnu nevarechecha b'schut Yeshua HaMashiach. All right, so let's get started. Yep, everything looking good. Oh, just a reminder, if you'd like to support this work, we do operate entirely on tithes and offerings, love gifts. It's much appreciated what you do. These courses are free, so it's really nice if you would like to support what we're doing. There are a few ways you can do this. You could either go to paypal.me, that's me, slash Hebrew Literacy, not paypal.com, paypal.me slash Hebrew Literacy, and you could send a gift that way. Please make it out select for friends and families. If you make it out as if you're buying a product, then they take a larger percentage and all that kind of stuff. So that's the easiest probably for single gifts. If you want to make a recurring gift, you could sign up over at patreon.com. You can also sign up as a free member. I do post some free stuff there too. But if you sign up with a paid membership, there are some resources, some videos that are available to you that are only for our monthly supporters. I would really appreciate that. If you'd like to have a special situation where you're sending to PayPal instead, because they do take a less of a percentage from us, that's fine. Just let me know and I can set you up with a button for a monthly payment if you like. So you can set up for that. And also, you could buy my book over here at patreon.com. Buy my book on Genesis. That's there in the store. You can get that. It's called Genesis Look Again. It's my own personal translation of the book of Genesis. I made about 5 years ago, I think. On one side, it's got the Hebrew. On the other side, it has the English. And I tried to match it up so they're very close with Hebrew learners in mind. So when you're looking at the Hebrew on one line, you look over, the English on one line, look over, there's the Hebrew on the other side, right? Or vice versa. And then there's lots of comments down below. I made this translation refusing to look at English translations. All I looked at was the original Hebrew, the Septuagint Greek, the Jewish Aramaic from the Targumim, and on occasion I pieced together something from Syriac, or I looked at the Yehoash Yiddish translation. So that's it. The only kind of modern translation would be the Yiddish one, really. And that was just very rarely. I would check that out when there's a hotbox Legomemnon or something, and I was curious how that had been preserved by Ashkenazim into the present era. Yeah? So, and then comments from the sages, from Talmud, from Midrash. I make linguistic observations. I've studied Ugaritic language under Dr. Michael Heiser, may he rest in peace. And so when I saw some influence where Ugaritic might give us an insight, I comment on that. So I have some insights of my own. I also mentioned from the commentaries from Chazal, the sages, and also modern commentaries from giants like Jacob Milgrom and Baruch Levine and others. So I hope you'll find it useful. But anyway, if you'd like, that's one way you can help. You purchase over there and you'll get the PDF. You can read it on a Kindle or whatever way you like and mark it up. Enjoy. And I love getting feedback. If you find errors, there are errata. This is a one-man translation, so there are some stuff in there probably that I would like to revise with the next edition when that comes out. And pray for this project. Pray for me. The more support we get, the better the odds are I will be able to finish my complete translation of the Torah. Right now, I'm working on the book of Numbers, Bamidbar, in the same style. The whole series are going to be the Look Again series. And ultimately with the idea to have a Chumash, where we'll have my translation from the Haftarot, and also, Bezrat Hashem, some stuff from the Greek of the Apostolic writings. Okay? Sorry, let's get right to it. So here we are, chapter 27, verse 12 of Psalms in the original Hebrew. And it says, Al titneini. Pardon me, titneini. You'll see titneini in other places, but here it's titneini. Al. So al, of course, means not. And if you don't remember this guy, he's kind of easy to remember because not the al, it's just the opposite of lo, right? So don't is the lo. Okay. And if you swap it, like we have here, al, that also means no or don't. So it should be kind of easy to remember. Now, sometimes there is a nuance difference, so that lo will mean like not ever, like never is this acceptable. And so, of course, we can see this in the Aseret Devarot, in the Ten Commandments. Lo tignov, don't ever steal. Lo tirtzach, don't ever murder. Lo tinaf, don't ever commit adultery, etc., etc. Right? So you'll see lo, lo. Now, al is generally seen as a softer way to say this, right? And because of that, it can have the nuance of right now, don't do it, right? Like in this search, like you know, things are going so well. I haven't been at my best, you know. Yeah, al tishpateni, you know, don't judge me, please, right now. Don't judge my situation right now, because maybe I'm the bad guy right now. Let me get my stuff worked out. Let me make teshuvah. So you might say al, and you'll see David HaMelech, he does this in his Psalms, right? He'll say, don't such and such right now, please, right? Because at the moment, he's thinking, I really don't deserve it, right? You'll see he doesn't ask for something if he thinks he deserves it. So al, it's got the softer request. It's lo doesn't really have the full force of never, but in a prohibition, in a mitzvah, in a command, it really comes across this way. Now, this is not universally true throughout the scriptures. Remember, Hebrew Bible, we're talking an eon worth of writings. Different dialects of Hebrew, Northern Kingdom, Jehudite Hebrew. You have some other tribes sometimes bringing in their stuff, different classes of prophets, classes of society. Some guys that were like poor guys, like Yirmiyahu. Other guys who are like nobility, like Yeshayahu. And so other guys like Moshe, whose native language was not Hebrew, was Egyptian, right? And so you've got like different styles that work their way into the mix also. Like we've been seeing in our directed immersion in the prophet study, I've been pointing out that in 1 Kings, I noticed the Sofer, the scribe, or the Navi, the prophet, doesn't like to use the hey locative, the directional hey at the end, like Yerushalayim, towards Jerusalem. He'll just write Yerushalayim, right? So you'll notice stylistic differences. So please keep this in mind. When I tell you that there's a nuance between words, it doesn't always mean always. It might be that only in the Torah that is true, or it might dissolve elsewhere, or it might be true everywhere except in the hand of one prophet, or except in the hand of them when they're living in diaspora, like when Daniel or Esther are written, right? You can find some Hebrew differences there. One beautiful thing we find in Esther, with Purim coming up in just a few days, and if you'd like to read through the book of Esther, a couple of years ago, on a whim, I just decided to record all of it. I read it in Hebrew and I translated it without the kinds of detailed explanations that we get in our deep, directed immersion classes. It's more like just immersion. I comment a little bit here and there, but one thing you'll notice is there's a lot of words in Hebrew that are loan words from Persian when you read the book of Esther. And I just find that lovely. It's one of those extra little sprinkles on the cupcake, icing on the cake, demonstrating that our books are real. Our books are legit. The language changes when it's being written from one prophet or another. The style changes. Different characters quoted directly speak differently, sometimes oddly. And then when we're in the diaspora, when we're living in Persia, well, guess what? A lot of Persian words are used in the Hebrew, which makes sense. This is what happens in Yiddish. Yiddish is basically German from 1,000 years ago with Hebrew words sprinkled in there, right? And kind of applied in, written with the Hebrew alphabet. So maybe that's a more extreme example, but you can see that the language gets influenced. This is why the Waw became a Vav, because largely Ashkenazi Jews, right? Because we didn't have the W sound in Yiddish or in German, and even some of the other Jews around the world speaking various languages where they live, they didn't have that, and so they lost it. Whereas the Yemenite Jews, they kept it; they still have the W sound, right? So to this day, the Vav is still a Waw. Right? So anyway, just something interesting to look forward to. If you want to go through all of the book of Esther, I do have it here. It's under a playlist. I think it's Megillot, or it might say Megillas or something like that. So that's because that's what that's classified as. It's a Megillah, that particular scroll. So if you want to, you can kind of do some hardcore immersion and go through and listen to me kind of just off the fly reading the Hebrew and saying what it means in English. Okay. Again, not a whole lot of discussion about grammar and stuff. That's kind of a higher level of immersion, but it could be useful. And it's actually, you're supposed to read the book of Esther for Purim anyway. So maybe think on that. All right. So do not, again, it's a soft request. You're not going to hear David HaMelech or any of the other psalmists talk to God with lo. It's not going to be this harsh lo. It's going to be the softer al, still meaning not. So not or don't, titneini. Okay, so a couple of you commented that you're having trouble recognizing the verbal form, so I'm going to make sure to point those out, okay, as we go along. So here we have the tav. And this tav, I wonder if I should use cyan for that. We'll be consistent with the notes we have up above. This tav should remind you of the tav from the word ata. Can you see that all right? Let's always get it wrong. Okay, see? So we have the word ata, aleph, tav, hey. The tav reminds you when you see it at the beginning of the verb, okay? So now you might be asking, well, what is with the dagesh over here? Why is there a dagesh in there? Because the verb is natan. The verb is actually natan. And so what has happened is we have noon, and then we have tav, then we have noon. I wrote it sideways so it wouldn't cut over the other one too badly. Natan, to give, set, or appoint, place, etc. Okay? So the first tav, this is you. And in ancient Hebrew, like before the Bible was written down, it would have been titneini. Tin, that noon would have been here. But instead, he got sandwiched, tin, and he disappeared, and he made this next letter double, and so that's why the dagesh is in there. So this dot, the dagesh, is telling us that's the noon. I am the noon. I am the noon. So titneini became titneini. There's two tavs there. So like if you expanded this out, the word would actually titneini, right? There'd be two tavs with two schwas, and that's why the schwa is vocal, right? Maybe I'll write it out. But let me do it with black, so to make sure it's clear. So the word would be this will go to white. It's kind of hard to see. Okay. So here's the word. It's tit. There's two tavs like that. See? So it's split right down the middle. So basically, the first schwa is silent. That guy's silent. Okay? And the next, whoops. And the next one is vocal. Remember, whenever you have schwas in a row, the first one is silent, and the second one is vocal. Always, always, always. So tit, te, that's the vocal one, neni. So that's why this particular publisher has the bigger schwa here. See, here is a silent schwa, and then this is a bigger one, and this is a bigger one here. Because that strong dagesh is telling us there's actually two tavs. 1, 2. So this tav, that guy, represents 2 tavs. Okay? And so the first schwa silent, the next one vocal. All right, so whenever you see a letter that has a strong dagesh in there and it's got a schwa under it, remember, it's 2 of those letters. So there's actually 2 schwas. So you're going to vocalize the schwa because your Bible, your siddur, your prayer book may not have this nice special corn pub kind of vowel system to it. Right? All right. Oops. Oh. And we're back. You didn't notice I had to pause to fix something. All right. Oh, we can't erase that one. Okay, fine. Al, do not, from ata, you, titneini. So natan, do not give or hand over or place or appoint, ni, not appoint, ni. There are the knights who say, me, it's me, I want the bread, me. Me is I. Al titneini, do not give me, do not place me. All right, and we're going to change over to the next slide. So if you want to take notes or something, now's your chance. Maybe you want to do a screenshot. I'll take a quick drink. If there's any comments or questions, hopefully I can see them in the chat now. Hopefully future me is on the ball. All right, and we're back. Changing slides. Okay. Now, we're not going to use this particular page. I just wanted you to see the nice design on the top of the book. I think it's pretty cool. And you'll note it does say, up at the top left there, it does say Psalm 28. But that's because that's the psalm that comes next on this page. It's kind of the Hebrew way to do it. If you're looking at a verse and you see a verse number, and there's more than one verse on that line, that's the first verse that starts on the line. So if the previous verse is completing, that's not that one. If you have 2 verses there, it'll put both. It'll list both that start on that line. So the same thing on a page. When you have a page referencing, if a new chapter starts on the page, it's going to list, it's pretty typical, the Jewish way, to list the next chapter, even if it's just a little bit at the very bottom of the page. The whole page is chapter 27, what we are working on. But then there's one line from chapter 28. It'll say like this, 28, kaf, chet, 20 and 8. Okay? All right, so yeah, this would be better like this. So continuing with line 12. So do not appoint me, b'nefesh zarai. B'nefesh zarai. So let's mark our inseparable preposition. By the way, I'm very curious. Please let me know if the sound is cutting out at all today. Because if it's not, then what that means is my computer is too burdened when we do it live. It's just getting too burdened. That'll help us understand, because right now I'm only needing to encode what's saved, right? I'm not having to encode it as a stream, right? So the computer's doing a little less work. So that might go a long way to help figure out what's going on. B'nefesh, with or in, or against. So in this case, among, probably, right? Al titneini, do not place me, right? Do not give me be, among or in or with the nefesh, the soul. Maybe don't appoint me with the life of zarai. So we have a construct chain here. I also repositioned the microphone a little bit. Construct, just to remind you. Construct just means it's going to have an of in there, right? Of zarai, zarai. So this is plural, my plural. It would have been zarai with patach, but because it's got the etnach, the little wishbone guy up there, it lengthens the short patach, the flat vowel, to the bigger, looks like a T, kamas. My adversaries. My adversaries. Kamu eidei sheker, vifei-ach Chamas. This is for or because. Kamu. So the verb here is kum. Kum. Kof. Vav. Mem. Which is to arise, right? And you'll notice that the middle root letter is a waw, right? It's a vav, right? This guy here. And when you have a verb where the middle root letter is a vav or a yod, those are called hollow verbs. Oftentimes it will disappear, and you're left only with the, in this case, the kof and the mem. Root number 1 and root letter number 3. Radical 1, radical 3, however you like to call it. And that's what's happened here. The vav is gone, right? Isn't he? There's no vav here. Okay. It's not there. Okay. So the u is part of the ending that's going to tell us who is doing the verb, who's doing the thing. So when you have an u at the end of a verb, this means they. They. That's what that is there. Okay. So who's kuming? They. Kamu. Interesting. That means in Russian that means to whom. Kamu. Okay. Kamu means they stood vi. So we have the Beit, which is an inseparable preposition. Usually. So that can be with, among, against. In this case, it's against. Against against me. Kamu vi, for they have stood against me. The idea of rebellion, right? To stand up against, right? Who? Eidei sheker. So An eid is a witness. Martyria in the Greek, right? A witness. Sorry, that's testimony. Martyrios is a witness. Like martyr, where we get the word martyr from. So they have stood against me. Who stood against me? So we have our verb. Here's our verb. And here is our subject coming up. Okay? And it's actually going to be a compound subject. We're going to have that first part, and we're also going to have this next part as well. I'll just leave it like that for now. We have a construct chain. Eidei, sheker. Eidei, sheker. So you can tell, because of the A, that that's plural of. It's more than one eid. Eid, right? This would have, if it wasn't saying of, it would have been, we would have had an im at the end. The mem would have been at the end, right? But that is not there. It's gone. So that's how you know it's of. So, witnesses of sheker. Sheker. Do not confuse. Please don't confuse this dot here. That is not telling you that this is a sin, and it's not an O. This is a ta'am. It's a sense sign, okay? There, that little dot is telling you this is a shin, okay? So she, and it's not O, not shoker, okay? That's like a liar. This is sheker, a lie or falseness, deception, etc. Okay? Whoa. Oh, I dragged it down in OBS. Okay, hold on. And we're back. Oopsie, oopsie. All right. I thought I was zooming and I was doing something in OBS instead. There we go. There we go. And then I can put them back. Okay, good. So this is the subject. Ki kamu for stood up against me, or arose against me, maybe better. Eidei sheker. False witnesses. Witnesses of falseness. Witnesses of deception. Vifei-ach Chamas. Actually, let me erase this. I just noticed we have some gook here. There we go. Vifei-ach. This is a pretty rare word, yafei-ach, from Ugaritic, which means witness. I do not know if there's some kind of nuanced difference other than just using a synonym with eidei sheker. So the vav is and. It might even be lost in dietis. And so vifei-ach Chamas. We have another construct chain here. There we go. And witness of Chamas. Chamas! Really? Chamas had witnesses back then? So Chamas can mean violence, or injustice. So unjust witnesses. That's why I was saying these two things together, it's kind of a like a compound subject. I'm not sure what color I put in the middle. Is it red? Oh yeah, this guy. Okay. That's also here too. Okay. Ki kamu for have stood up against me, eidei sheker, false witnesses, vifei-ach Chamas, an unjust testimony, let's say. Because they are different words in the Hebrew, so we need to have some kind of feeling for that in the English. Okay, I think that's pretty good. We could save a couple verses for next time. Let's maybe go through again the whole shebang. Review what we had tonight. Verse Yod Beit, that's 12. Al titneini, do not put me, do not place me, or like assign me. Do not place me. Bnefsh zarai. Oh, nefesh might be throat here. Nefesh has a lot of meanings, and yeah, I think that goes well. Throat. Throat seems to work better. Yeah. Into the throat of my adversary. Yeah, that's good. That's good. The throat of my personal enemy. Ki kamu for have stood up against me. Oops, sorry, hold on. Sorry, I have a slight pen issue here. I just want to delete that color that doesn't belong there. Eidei sheker, vifei-ach Chamas. Witnesses of falseness. So false witnesses and unjust testimony. Literally, again, and witness of Chamas. And by the way, if you're wondering why it's pointed this way, you'll note we have a kind of an interesting pointing here. See that? The yod has no vowel. It's part of the vowel. See it? See it there? So it's vifei-ach, right? So what's happening is we have a rule where if you have a word that starts with a yod, oh yeah, I have to, can't take notes while it's zoomed in, starts with a yod, and it has a schwa under it, okay? And it doesn't matter what the other letters are. So like Yehuda, Yerushalayim, something like this. And you want to attach your vav in front of it. In this case, what happens is the yod is going to lose its consonantal properties, and we will lengthen here our vocal schwa, the eh. Maybe I should have left it there so you could see the problem is. We want to have two schwas, right? But you cannot begin a word with two schwas in a row. So what happens is this one lengthens to a chirik, like it usually does. It's okay if you don't understand this. It's for those who want to know it, okay? And then after that, the yod says, forget it. I'm just going to be part of the chirik. So we get a long chirik sound there. So, and Judah is not ve Yehuda. You'll hear people saying this. It's vihuda. And Jerusalem is not ve-Yerushalayim, it's vi-Yerushalayim, right? And so something similar is happening here. But you might be saying, wait a second, why would that happen here? Because the word, oops, that guy, it's got a comment. It doesn't have a schwa under it. All right, now it's going to get interesting. Some of you may remember I shared with you the pre-tonic comments rule. All right, what does that mean? This word is vifei-ach, with the accent here. Vifei-ach, okay? Which makes this comments, that's the name of that vowel, the one that like a big T, a very special guy. Okay? It means he's just before the accent. We call it a pre-tonic comments, like a comments before the tone. Okay, he's pre-tonic comments. Very special guy. When you have a pre-tonic comments and you move the accent in the word later on the word, which remember, anytime we add something to a Hebrew word, in Hebrew, it's like the ring in the Lord of the Rings. It wants to be found. The accent wants to move to the end. All right? It wants to get away from where it is. In English, it likes to go to the front. But in Hebrew, it likes to go to the end. Right? Other languages have their own kind of weird stuff. You know, in Tagalog, it likes to be on penultimate, the next to last syllable when it can. So, because it's a construct chain here, right? It's an witness of. In construct chain, like here, eidei, sheker, in ancient times it was read as a compound word. I've given the example before of you can have a house and you can have a boat, but when you put them together, you don't have a house boat. You have a houseboat, just one accent as if it's one word. Same thing here. So this would have been not eidei, sheker like we read it today, but eidei, sheker, right? Like one accent on those two words. So this would not have been vifei-ach, Chamas, even the cantor will read it this way. It would have been vifei-ach, I can't even say it. Vifei-Chamas, 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 like it's one word. So what's happening is our tone syllable this guy is going to move. He's on the move. He's going to move and going to land over here. Look over on the right. I'm drawing on the right. He's going to land there. See? He was up here, upper left, and he moved. Oops, I ran out of real estate there, strangely. He moved. And so, because it's moving to the end of the virtual word, our special pre-tonic comments is also going to change. What's it going to change into? A schwa. So now we have the situation where the word is actually, he has become, those of you who don't care, we can be done already. You can go. But if you want to stick around, I know some people care about this stuff, and for some of you it will help when you see the patterns like this. Right? So the whole thing is going to become this. Vifei-ach. You see? Vifei-ach. So vifei-ach, super rare word, only a few times, and I think mostly in Psalms, like very old, common in Ugaritic, but rare in the Bible. Vifei-ach is a witness or a testifier, if you will, right? Someone's going to testify, give testimony. But a vifei-ach is witness of, because it's in the construct state. Is in the construct. It looks like that. A lot of words change, right? Like we've seen, for example, the word son is bane with its zarai, that's those two dots, bane. But if I write it, if I change that vowel and make him shorter, and I write it ben, the short, the top one is a, and this is just So if he changes, then this means son of. It's now of. Son of. Son of. No, just kidding. So Bain is son and Ben is son of. Similarly, vifei-ach is witness, and vifach is witness of. So you'll start to recognize as those vowels change, they're telling you things about little changes in the meaning of the word. That's telling you it's in the construct. Okay? Vifei-ach Chamas, and unjust testimonies, like witnessing or testimony of injustice or violence. It could be violent testimonies, beating people up while testifying, believe me, but probably not. All right. Any comments or questions before I let you guys go? I'm just going to take a quick drink while I wait and see if there's anything. All right. Hopefully that was enough time for me to deal with any of your comments or questions. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight. I always enjoy doing tehillim with you. It's so rich and wonderful, the Psalms. And if you're new to the channel, don't worry. We have other nights that are easier. Psalms is pretty intense, but I hope you'll check out some of the other stuff we have. We have a running session on Exodus, on First Kings, and Psalms. And of course, on Saturdays, we're working our way through Numbers. And on Monday nights, or Monday mornings by you, as the case may be, we're working through Genesis. All right? Really appreciate you, especially special thanks to all of our monthly supporters. I really appreciate it. If you don't have the funds to contribute to the cause, and please pray for this ministry. We really need it. There is spiritual warfare that happens sometimes. You'd be surprised. This little ministry that we've got here, I think Hashem really wants everybody to know Hebrew. I have a friend, a good friend, who is in the UK, who tells me that he thinks that all Christians should learn biblical Hebrew. I believe it. It shouldn't just be Jews. It shouldn't just be Israel. It should be Christians should be learning. Anybody who serves the God of Israel really should know Hebrew, because then translations can't trick you. They can't work their theology in there. It's much more difficult to be hoodwinked if you know Lashon HaKodesh. Wishing you all the best. Have a great day ahead. So glad you guys tuned in. Special thanks to all of you who are live with me, well, in the premiere. And I will see you on Shabbat. Shalom, shalom.